Welcome to this evening's edition of the Evening Review. I'm Jemima Beatrice, your host. Now, before we go to the headlines of tomorrow, NMH Teltech division is running a competition, and we have a PC and a printer up for grabs. Now, stay tuned for all our editions in the coming days, and you will learn more. Welcome to the Evening Review Show. My name is Jemima Beatrice, your host. Now, Namibia is one of 190 countries over the world that are in Dubai, that has a representation in Dubai, attending the 2020 World Expo. Now, we are speaking to Soni Nrupesh, founder of Namibia Travel and Tourism Forum, who is also in Dubai, but he is a major player in the local tourism industry, and he'll talk about what is happening in Namibia. Thank you for joining us, Nrupesh.
Thank you very much, and good evening. Yeah, it's been a very good. The expo itself has been an eye opener for a lot of the people coming here. A lot of them don't know where Namibia is, but give you a bit of a background. The expo itself happens every 10 years. The last one was in 2010 in Shanghai, where we had about 75 million visitors at the expo, and it's on for 6 months. And we are hoping that with the COVID impact on tourism, that it will bring in a lot more changes and revival to the tourism industry. As we can see already, people are dying to just leave and travel and explore new countries.
Now, before we start with the other issues, please talk to us about the NTTF, of which you are a founder.
NTTF, Namibia Travel and Tourism Forum, I founded early this year, late last year around December. My main concern, the fact that I'm not directly in tourism, I don't benefit, I don't have a lodge, I don't have a tour operator company or anything. So it does make it, from outside point, it made it seem last year that there wasn't much in tourism. It was only a few companies, a few associations, a few groups who did a lot of things in tourism. But at the same time, it was always obvious that a lot of information wasn't going through to the crowd, to the public, to the industry. COVID information, opening up, regulations, a lot of the things were not passing through. And during COVID, NTB never really did much for the industry, but they're the regulatory authority, and a lot of people expected a lot to be done. So I said, like any industry, just to give you a bit more background, I've stayed 16 years in China. I'm originally from India, although I'm a permanent resident in Namibia. I'm a citizen of Namibia now. So for me, it was more about how can we bring those kind of new technologies, new ways of doing tourism to Namibia. And the resistance to change was big, is still big. So I said, we need an open platform where information like the regulations, feedback from the industry, everything is communicated openly to the industry, from the industry. There are surveys, going to meetings, that information is communicated to everyone. So what I saw eventually, after a lot of discussions, arguments last year, where I wasn't even allowed to come to meetings with Finata and others because they have quite a tight group. So I said, I'll start a forum which can then open up the industry to everyone, bring in a lot more emerging companies, local black-owned companies, For example, our BNB Association of Namibia only has 11 members. We have 700 BNBs. Car Rental Association only has 21 members. We have 550 car rentals and shuttle companies registered at NTB. So I started a forum for a collaborative, open platform where we can all work together. And the efforts were quite obvious with the newsletters, with Facebook. The Facebook platform already has 5 million reach last month. 90,000 followers, something that NTB and NWR took 10, 12 years to get to. We did it in 8 months because the information was relevant, updated, and for everyone. So forum was basically started on that premise where we want everyone to help each other in the industry and not have silos, that if it's only a tour guide association, it only helps tour guides. We need to work together. The industry is quite big and it's dependent on each other. Once the forum reached a certain stage, I approached the ministry to say, we can do so much more with the support of the ministry to the industry through these various new platforms. And one of them was me approaching them for MOU to say, every small change, a survey to understand what's happening with the industry, to understand what problems there are. We don't have a common survey platform. So having the support of the ministry to then do these things for everyone is what the MOU is about. Obviously, the MOU does include NTB, FINATA, the various ministries. So once the MOU was signed, in fact, before that, we have approached NTB a lot of times. FINATA, we have emailed about 20 times to say, why don't we have a meeting and discuss and, work with each other. And the NTTF is not taking up anybody's space. It is filling a gap that exists in the industry. While only 10% of the industry is represented by associations, we need to cater to the other 90%, which is where the forum comes in, which is what the ministry would also like to do, is to get direct feedback.
And Nrupesh, you were saying, yes, you are talking about the 10% belonging only to a certain group of associations. You also made mention of a tight group and resistance to change. And I'm sensing that you are talking about a certain group monopolizing the industry. Can you talk, who is this tight group?
I won't say names, but it's more about the associations. Let me put it this way. HAN, the Hospitality Association, who's been existing for 50 years, they still do things like they did 30 years ago. They are very resistant to new changes, new members. A lot of members have complained that they've joined HAN, but it never benefited them. But some members have always been there. HAN has 250 members who are in establishments, lodges, accommodations, while NTB has 3,000 registered accommodations. So who helps give information and get feedback from these other 90% of the companies? Now, apart from that, HAN gives a monthly statistic of occupancy. Now, if HAN members are only bigger lodges, bigger groups, the expensive ones, they are the ones filling these monthly occupancy rate. So HAN gets, let's say, 30 to 35 monthly occupancy figures. From 3,000, now we are using 30 of them as our statistics, which is 1%. So basically we're saying that 1% becomes our national statistic of occupancy, which is not a right statistic because many campsites are completely empty while some are doing a really good job. So you cannot base it on just this 1% of the companies. A lot of the big tour operators, for example, tour companies who have a big overhead, they are used to working with some lodges and they add a lot of commission. So that structure has always been a big problem as well, where a lot of companies never got direct bookings. But after COVID, a lot of things have changed and a lot of companies are now coming directly. 60 to 70% are self-drive tourists. Now there is nothing in the market to actually help them make the right decision. And the same with the local tourism is like an initiative, which I also helped to start last year with Yvonne. They're having the next expo in a couple of weeks. And even then you could see that some of the big companies, HAN, they never really gave that support that was needed by local companies, local deals to give local rates for domestic tourism. And they would rather have higher prices and less tourists than more tourists and lower prices. And this is the change we're trying to bring because most countries depend on turnover rather than just the profits. And with COVID, we have to change the way we think, the way we do tourism. But if since last year we have not had one meeting, I've been asking HAN and others to meet since September last year, and they don't want to meet. Obviously, they don't like the way I was critical of them, but without criticism, things don't change. Without criticism, constructive criticism, you cannot just expect everybody to always praise you and think things are fine, while a lot of the smaller companies are suffering.
Absolutely. Can we go to, you are now in Dubai. Can you talk to us about Namibia's presence there? What is happening there?
Namibia's presence here, there are three different zones: zone of mobility, opportunity, there's technology, and 191 countries are kind of mixed between them, rather than what had happened before, where African Pavilion was all African countries. So now, since we have our own, everybody has their own building, offices, a huge space to showcase the country. Every country has had an opportunity to showcase the country the way they want it. And the reason I'm here is on behalf of NIPDB, actually, to help bring, again, digitalization and technology into the expo, to show that we don't, because of COVID, people don't want to take books, people don't want to carry things in their hands. So we have got QR codes, touchless, contactless technology, where people can tap and get information on the tourism, people can get information on investment, mining, different development sectors, lead generation, where if somebody sends an inquiry, it goes back to vendor. And so far, we have had 4,000 people in the first, I think, 12 days of opening, which is quite good because people come here looking at going out to Namibia, looking at opportunities in Namibia. There are pavilions, the bigger ones like Russia or Finland, which have thousands of people a day, but we don't want that, because then it just becomes way too much. And we want the right people and the right exposure for Namibia, which we have achieved. If you look at other African countries, they're quite focused on one or two things. Most of the pavilions are like a walkthrough, like a maze. We are one of the very few ones which is very open, which people also like because they can see a lot of things. We also have a children's corner for kids to do drawing and other puzzles and learn Namibian culture, which also not a lot of others have.
You were saying that people are interested in a number of things. What is the appetite for traveling to Namibia, for Namibia as a destination, look like? So when people are obviously engaging you as a tour operator, what is it? So who are the people that would like to come to Namibia? Are we seeing more family traveling, or individuals, young people, or what does it look like?
From what I have seen in the last few days, I'm myself not a tour operator. Like I said, I'm here as an NIPDB consultant, because I also helped in 2010 with the Shanghai Expo for 2 months when we had other technology. So my role is different, and I'm not actually a tour operator, but there is somebody here from Ministry of Tourism, Environment, Tourism and Forestry, who is also meeting people and getting feedback, and we are trying to understand how and what is the interest. If you look at the first 2 weeks, we have received a number of families more than individuals, couples and families who are very keen on traveling to Africa and Namibia. A lot of them have heard where Namibia is or know a bit about Namibia. I myself interviewed a few people who said, their option on their list, number one to go somewhere is Namibia. And that's great, because this is where we must showcase what Namibia has. And with the screens we have, with the big screens we have, I can do a walkthrough a bit later to show you. Namibia is showing everything we have. We are not limiting ourselves to just one or two places or one or two companies. The screens, the content we have, it covers everybody. We are trying not to make the same mistakes as before, where we only showcase one or two big companies, and again, we don't really see a big impact in Namibia. So this time, the focus for 6 months is Namibia as a destination, as a country, and all the leads, everything will be openly published. Ministry is also here. All the ministries have a representative here, most of them, to then talk to the people. If they are serious about investment in tourism, then they will be. There will be somebody who will talk to them and in-depth a conversation around, rather than just giving a business card and saying, you can email us.
That's very interesting. When people say they would like to travel to Namibia, Namibia is on the top of their list. What is it that attracts them?
I think a few factors count. We were one of the few countries since lockdown last year when we opened up. We never discriminated, or rather say, we never categorized countries as per list, saying, no, these countries are allowed, these are not allowed. We opened up to everybody, which is big compared to other countries. Even South Africa had a list at a certain stage. We never had one, which made it very popular. In fact, second is the fact that we don't have too much crowd, we don't have a dense population, it's safe. We have advertised a lot in the last few months, and I'm saying everyone in the industry, the forum, the other big companies, we've all advertised the fact that Namibia is open. If you look at the campaigns, it's all about Namibia being open rather than come work with us or come work with this company. We have emphasized come together to say Namibia is open, come visit us. And then the views, the photos, the footage shows how Namibia is unique, and we've got open spaces. So people with COVID being in lockdown, the first thing they want to do is just go somewhere open. And I think that's the big factor in it.
Absolutely. And now you also you mentioned the QR codes and the new technology products that you. So can you talk to us about the MOU with the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, and what the appetite is for these QR codes here in Namibia?
Okay, QR codes it's a small thing for the expo rather than part of the MOU. The MOU is more about digitalization, data analytics, big data. Right now, we need data in tourism to grow, and we'd never have data. We don't know. If you go to some of the Western countries, Americas, you will see that a lot of times you have information kiosks where you can enter data statistics. When you leave the country, you get a form to fill or an iPad to fill out quickly. When you go to a restaurant, when you go to a hotel, all that data should go into a pot where we must then analyze it and understand where we really need to grow, which countries are looking at us, and then understand how to market Namibia further. What happens right now is, for example, just to give you basic info, is we fill in the form, the tourists fill in the form at the airports in Namibia, where all those forms, a million forms, are counted by hand by Home Affairs, and then they come to Ministry of Tourism, where they again go through a manual process where we identify the 9 key points to say which country people are coming from and the other key points and how long they stay. But that data, it's not really centralized and linked with the other data, as in how many tourists went to which part of Namibia. We don't know that. So what the forum intends to do is, through surveys, through a platform, we intend to bring everything together. Let's say culture. Culture ministry is a different ministry, so we never look at it from the tourism side. We don't have a map of Namibian culture now. The fact that 60-70% of tourists are self-drive, how would they know if they go to Uis or Matahoa or anywhere, what culture is there? What groups can they go see? We don't have a cultural map. Same with the heritage. Heritage is on their own website, where we have 136 heritage sites, national heritage sites, which nobody has a list of. And we need to try and consolidate everything on one platform, where tourists, regardless of his coming with someone, alone, a tour company, a tour guide, he needs to know what he wants to see for family, for themselves, for the culture, for the history of Namibia. And that is quite important for us to do.
Now, what is your opinion of the work that NTB is doing? Do you think they are doing enough to empower local and upcoming SMEs?
Every SME, every state-owned enterprise has its challenges and has its problems, and it's how you learn from the constructive criticism is how you will develop it. I have helped NTB previously when I used to be in Asia more. I've helped them organize delegations or road shows in China, Hong Kong, and places like that. So I know NTB, how they work. The problem is when you see it from the inside of the industry and you see the issues and the fact that NTB only targets a few countries for marketing. NTB's act shows and states that they are regulatory, the mandate is about regulation of the industry. Marketing can be done by everyone, but regulation cannot be done by everyone. Now, tour guides, NTB doesn't have a list of tour guides. We have 2,000-3,000 tour guides. Nobody even knows how many tour guides we have. Since 2012, 2013, NTB has been working on it, and nothing has happened. Same thing with now with COVID. There hasn't been much of help from NTB. If you talk to NTB, you will see, if you ask them about regulation, they will say, no, we focus on marketing. If you ask them about marketing, they will say, no, we regulatory. It doesn't help the local small companies when state-owned enterprise doesn't do much. Obviously, there is a lot more complications in it. You have a board. The board has members which also stem from the tourism industry. This, which also kind of negates their role, because now they will always look out for their own companies, which is where the structure should be changed of a board. But NTB's main thing that I've been trying to ask them is the list of members. NTB has 5,500 members. Why don't they make that list public? Not the content details or anything, but it's just to say, these are the tour operators, these are the vehicle rentals, these are the different companies. There are 23 categories. Why don't they make it public to say everybody gets a good chance to get leads or get requests for quotations? But they've not done that. They're saying it's privacy laws, which is not. I've asked a lot of local companies to say, do you mind if NTB puts your name, company name, and website online? And they said that's what they would expect NTB to do. We don't have a privacy act in Namibia. Regardless, this is not a breach of privacy. Every country in the world, if you go to the Tourism Board website, they will list the tourism companies. Because if you are cheated as a tourist by someone, now tourists don't even have a way to properly check if the agent they're booking from is registered or not with NTB. And these are the smaller issues that I've been trying to get NTB to meet and discuss. But NTB always wants to have a strategy team, subcommittee, and it's way too much protocols and bureaucracy in place, if I'm being honest, than actual development. And now COVID has shown us we're all on the same playing field. So I thought, what? We want to work together with everyone. But if they even refuse to have a meeting, if you see the newspapers, NTB has been critical, but they have not accepted a meeting request with NTTF since the last 12 months to say, let me just do a presentation to the board. And now they're complaining that we've signed with the ministry, which is actually a good thing for ministry to show that the youth, the emerging companies, the new companies, that ministry is there to welcome you, to come, show us your ideas, let's work together, let's do things quickly rather than, going back to say, oh, but this doesn't allow you, this allows you. And, we are a democracy, we are allowed to do everything. And if we can do everything together, definitely makes a huge impact and grows tourism the right way. And the bottom line is, look, everybody says, everybody's fighting for the piece of cake, basically, if you say the tourism industry, which is 500,000 tourists in 2019 and about, let's say, $20 billion industry, Namibian dollars. But, excuse the kid crying. What's happening is, they're not looking at the fact that we can actually make it double. We can make the cake bigger. We can have 1 million tourists visiting, and everybody can get business if you all work together and openly, rather than working for themselves.
Now, in conclusion, who are your members, and is there an appetite from young Namibians to join the industry?
I have avoided trying to make a membership-based system. So there are no members of NTTF. NTTF is an open platform. We are working on a website called tourism.na, which is Tourism Namibia, where all the information will be there for free. We'll have a discussion forum where different parts of tourism can discuss with each other. So there is no money involved. Even the MOU with the ministry is completely non-profit. The structure, the way the forum is structured it's an open platform without which no industry can sustain. It doesn't matter if it's trade or anyone else. And for us to charge, we become the same as others. So if you look at the support, we've got so many companies who have supported the initiative, but nobody's directly benefiting. They're benefiting equally from each other. So for example, if I'm in Dubai or if you're making a website, we will list everyone. We don't want to list just a few companies. We don't want to charge companies or a tour guide even $20 a month, because then you are eliminating a certain group. What we want to do is we want to have it an open platform where everybody can share the information, give feedback, give ideas, criticism, concerns. We can approach the ministry directly. Ministry is kind of in there as the role that they will be watching the forum, and then we can immediately solve problems, while the forum can be supported by private entities like sponsors who can pay for the running of the forum. But forum itself should not ever charge the industry, or any entity should never charge industry directly, because that is where the discrimination and the bias happens, which is what I strongly believe. And if you look at other countries, that's how they've done it. You don't charge direct fees.
Is there an appetite from young Namibians to enter the industry? And if there is, what challenges do they have?
Yes, look, tourism has always been 130,000 Namibians directly or indirectly employed by the industry, and there is a huge need demand, interest from Namibian youth to come into the tourism. If you look at the Must Hotel School, their graduates, they're so keen on doing tourism. The fear has always been, from what I see, is that they always see from outside thinking, oh, you know what, this industry is controlled by a few or managed by a few, so we are not sure how to approach it. So on that basis, if you see online, what we have done through our networking sessions and what we're planning with the ministry is to do once or twice a week open workshops, webinars, teaching sessions to the industry where everybody from the industry is allowed to join for free, where we'll teach them how to do social media, what is needs of tourism, how tourism is changing in other countries. And this is how we empower the youth to then say, okay, you know what, I'm more confident now. Don't tell companies to say, come to Germany with us. Rather tell them, go to India, go to these countries. This is the exhibition that's happening. This is the contact details. This is how we can even try to get it to you cheaper. But you must do it as a group yourself rather than somebody telling you or spoon feeding you, which then doesn't benefit everyone. And this is where the resistance and the conflict has happened, is where NTB has always now been saying that, oh, they are the only ones who can do exhibitions or market Namibia, which is wrong. It has to be for everyone. Everybody can do that. The critical part that one must be focused on in a position of NTB is that regulatory part of the industry really, really needs help right now, and there hasn't been much forthcoming. And this is where we need to look at changes. So just to give you an example of the Local Tourism is Elected initiative. Ministry has endorsed it a couple of months ago, seeing that it has been a huge benefit to the country in the last 18 months. But in the last 18 months, that initiative never got support from NTB as much as it got from NWR and the ministry and a lot of other companies. We have 120, they have 120, 130 new local deals posted daily, which is huge for Namibia. You can see the campsites going for almost $200, $150. Some lodges which used to be 20,000 came down to 2,500 for Namibians during the COVID time, which shows that there is a local appetite for tourism, and for people to get into tourism if we do it right and if we give them the confidence to get into it.
Thank you very much for joining us, Nrupesh. Enjoy Dubai.
Thank you so much. Okay, thanks a lot. Right.
Thank you for tuning in. God bless.
Strike it gold and win 5,000 Namibian dollars in cash with Neo Paints. Simply buy Neo Paints products from the selected range and stand a chance to get one of 12 mystery buckets filled with gold paint. All 12 winners will each get 3 extra paint buckets equal to their purchase. One to replace the gold paint, the second to use on your project, and the third to give to a charity of their choice. One winner can score another 10,000 Namibian dollars by showing us your creative use of the golden paint. The best project wins the cash. Offer is valid from 27 September to 18 December at your favorite hardware store nationwide. Visit us at neopaints.com for more competition details and follow us on Facebook for weekly competition updates. Neo Paints, a coat of excellence.